So like, when people come into the gym or it just, even in general, when they're like, hey, I've done this before, I've done that before. And I just kind of, they say that they have some type of a background in whatever it is that you do. And they walk in and they're like, yeah, I know what's going on. I just kind of need this. I know that like Steve and I are like, okay, we'll ask them one simple thing. We'll be like, take a fighting stance and throw a 1-2. And from that, we will know every single thing that we need to know about that person and what we're about to deal with.
Yeah. Like, are we going to have an easy day or a hard day with this performer?
Is there something that you do, that kind of the same way, but with rigging and with flying someone?
Yeah.
And
like, so you
kind of like,
you have a
blah,
cast
blah, blah.
that you have to work with. Is there some kind of baseline assessment that you do like right off the bat that gives you an idea of how good or difficult your day will be with a performer?
I think it's something that comes with, I think we all end up going through it no matter what industry we're in, and it goes through different stages with your experience. Like, obviously, I'll tell you one of the things I dislike greatly is if somebody wants me to come rig something for them and they feel like they're going to give me a test to figure out what I know and who I am. And it usually comes across very aggressive. So to turn that around, I think as you get older and more accomplished, or you become confident, or you decide you just don't want to be a jerk to other people, you can definitely go through the stages of figuring out what's the softest, best way I can get the info I need from somebody who wants something specifically from me. Yeah, I used to say that, like, if somebody wants to come rig with me, I can ask them like 5 questions and kind of know what they're about. Mm-hmm. And I, at this point, am not so rigid as I might have been when I was younger, that they have to be A, B, and C, or they're complete useless. So I'll ask, I might not even remember all 5 of them, but I'll definitely ask like what harness they have. Do they own a harness, or have they always had a harness? And the one I get for people that are going to come rig is stunt guys will always be like, well, I have a climbing sutra stunt harness. And it's not really what I'm asking. What I'm asking is like, what is the harness you wear when you climb to go to work?
Like a safety harness. Yeah.
And look, there's no wrong answer to it. They could even say like, well, I just climb with the rock climbing harness. And I can still work with that person. I know that they climb. I know that they wear a harness. Like, I know that they're not necessarily the same training or background I had, or they might not fit for this thing we're about to do. As long as they're not trying to impress me by the awesomeness of their harness. But like, I get a sense of it. Mm-hmm. I'm totally, look, you want to climb in a rock climbing harness, at least you're wearing a harness. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I can do that. I can know that. I might ask them, I'll ask them who they've worked for. And what I kind of want to hear is what other riggers or what other rigging company, for me, what rigging company or company that has a rigging department have they worked for? Because, again, in other industries, but in this industry, you can be your own head rigger and have never worked for anyone else. Mm-hmm. Right? So I'd like to know, if you say that you worked with, let's say you worked with ATS out of California. Well, I've never worked for ATS, but I know people that have. So I know that you've got a head rigger over you that has told you what to do and how to do things they want for that company, and et cetera. And you can follow those directions and work within somebody else's parameters. And ideally, in that situation, somebody's going to know more than you. You're going to learn something out of it. So I know what I'm getting with somebody like that. It's not to discount people that have been self-taught or a group of people that have been internally taught, but I'm going to deal with them differently. I'm going to talk to them differently. I might have different expectations out of them. On the circus side of things, there's definitely a bunch of people, especially when I was starting out, that taught themselves how to do a bunch of circus and acrobatic rigging and have never been employed by anybody. I don't mean they've never been hired by an aerialist. Anybody can get hired by an aerialist.
Right.
If you show up with a harness, you're an expert to the aerialist. I want to know what other riggers have hired you.
Right.
And how you fit into those teams. So, I'm not as rigid as it used to be, but in whatever we do, we've got to go through those same probing questions. You guys have to do it when you're picking who you want to work with, or if you're coordinating something. I mean, and then I do it for people that hire me.
Well, that was my follow-up question is, what about the flip side when you are not the key rigger, but you're looking for a job?
I actually wanted to go back and kind of ask about, same thing with the people you work with, but same question, but for actors.
So performers are a unique. I find performers to be a unique challenge in that I've worked on a ton of shows where we've had to fly performers that are afraid of heights, and that nowhere in the process of them getting hired or them accepting did that information come up. And look, I'll cut them some slack. They may not have been aware that they were afraid of heights. I've definitely been around performers that were really amazing rock climbers, but the first time we put them in a harness and hang them upside down, this is almost even more way out of their scope of what they're comfortable with. So, so along that lines, the way I was taught by the people that I learned from was that we try to prepare for everyone being a potato. Potato is the technical term. It's the key term.
There you go.
That
just don't become a mashed potato. That's
right. That if you can, can you set up the rig for a potato? This works really well for when we were doing a lot of stunt training in my gym in Atlanta. Some people are just potatoes, and so we have to come up with all of the mechanics that we can to kind of help them out in that scenario. And then there are some performers that they don't even need a wire on them. I don't even know why we're attaching anything to them. They pretty much float through the air all on their own, and we had a chance to work with some of those. But ideally, your hope would be, I guess, that if you're the person in charge, it'd be similar with fights. Like, can we craft a fight that a potato can do and still accomplishes what we want to accomplish? But it's obviously a blessing if they have more skill to it.